Hello everybody, back again with another video. So I've done a few in the past, the favourite horror rankings, favourite family films, favourite animated. I think that's all I've done so far. So this is my favourite sci-fi films. So I'm thinking of doing another one of favourite action films, drama films, thrillers. I don't really have any westerns. I've got a few war films, but they're more recent ones, or at least Vietnam ones, Deer Hunter and things. I won't ramble on with that too much. Yeah, a few of these were tricky, as some of them you could put into sort of some are sci-fi horror, some are sci-fi action, I guess. So I'll talk about them when I get to them. I was tempted to have do a one list of top sci-fi horror, one list of top sort of sci-fi action, but I thought I'd try and lump them all in together. My number one, yeah, they're not really ranked, not in any order as such, but then my number one, which is my favourite. So I'll talk about it when we get to it. But yeah, my number one, you could class as a horror, I guess. I've got a lot more horrors than I've got sci-fi. So when I did the 15 favourite horror films around Halloween, I think it was, I kind of cheated and didn't put it in there to save it for this one. It was in my top 15 favourite movies ever list I did, and it is in the sort of top 5, and it would probably be in the top 5 of my, or top 3 of my horror list that I did, but I kind of wanted to be number 1 in a list, so that's why I've saved it for this one. Obviously everybody knows my favourite film ever is The Thing, which is a sci-fi horror, but I personally think it's more horror than it is sci-fi. I kind of gauge it on, obviously if it's got science fiction elements, it's got, sci-fi, what's the word, sci-fi, sort of in the sci-fi genre, whether pure sci-fi or sci-fi horror or sci-fi action. Don't have too many sci-fi comedies actually, other than films like Evolution. Guess you could class Eight-Legged Freaks. But yeah, I think if it's set on Earth, which The Thing is, even though it's got an alien and things, I think, yeah, if it's set on Earth, then maybe it's more grounded, no pun intended. So I kind of class that maybe as a bit more of a horror than a sci-fi. But anyway, let's get on with it. I've already rambled 2 minutes. Try and make this one, see if I can get it under 15 minutes, as I know my videos go on a long time, and I'm trying to sort of bring them down a bit, because probably I know a lot of subscribers and people I chat to in the community, especially in the WhatsApp groups, do watch the videos, but when they're coming out 30-40 minutes long, it is hard to fit them all in. So let's start with Silent Running. So really like this one as a kid. Remember we always used to have it on a pre-recorded, I say pre-recorded, we taped it off the TV onto a VHS. Only thing I know my mum and dad said I watched it a lot as a kid. Anything I could really remember till I watched it again recently was Huey, Dewey and Louie, the robots are called, which I guess is like a DuckTales reference. But yeah, Bruce Dern in this one. I have spoke about this, I think on a Pickups. Yeah, I really like that cover. I think that's the original cover, obviously with these arrow you can flip them around, and that must be the newly commissioned arrow artwork. Yeah, I've spoke about this on a video. Yeah, I think it was either Pickups or maybe it was like when I was talking about underrated ones or something. But yeah, it's kind of what's the word? Poignant nowadays, because it must have been made. Let's see, it must be the 80s. 1972. I didn't know it's that old. It doesn't show. It still sort of stands up today. Yeah, hasn't aged really. But yeah, considering it's that old, the concept is about like the Earth's dying due to greenhouse effects and global warming, and they get these like a sort of spaceship where they put all these greenhouses in, and they get all the seeds and plants from Earth and sort of what's the word? Yeah, culture them, sort of grow the seeds, keep them all alive basically. And Bruce Dern is on the little planet with other workers. I say planet. It's not really, yeah, space station, I guess you would say. Yeah, sorry, space station rather than spaceship. And yeah, they're basically trying to sort of protect and grow all the plants, and he's like a horticulturalist. So yeah, quite relevant nowadays. It's only a year. I think there's a little bit of violence, like a couple of like sort of killings or something, but done tastefully. But yeah, really enjoyed this one when I watched it recently. I say that's a classic. Obviously, there's a lot of sci-fi films I've seen, some really good older ones that I watched as a kid that I just don't own. So obviously these are ones from my collection, not ones that I've seen in the past. So yeah, as a child I'd seen like original War of the Worlds, Time Machine, things by H.G. Wells. I know Stuart George is a fan of him. He did his video recently of when I tagged him in the top 6. What was it? Create Your Own Movie Festival. and he did like a HGL, so an interesting idea. So yeah, go and watch that if you haven't seen it. Sure, everybody knows Stuart George. Subscribe to him if you're not. Really good guy, really good channel. Flatliners. So yeah, I think this is more of a sci-fi than a horror. Really, it's kind of got some I wouldn't say supernatural elements, but yeah, you don't. I don't want to spoil it, so I won't go into it. But yeah, actually, right. Oh, I didn't forgot it was directed by Joel Schumacher. So the other day on my 6 movies I show at the film festival one, the Tims International Film Festival, coincidentally, is directed by Joel Schumacher. Was 8mm, and so is this. So very different films. Obviously, it stars. Obviously, I know Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts, Kevin Bacon, a couple of other famous people in it. Let's see if I can find so I don't miss them. Yeah, William Baldwin, Oliver Platt, probably other two big. But yeah, basically, it's not really a spoiler to say, but they think that when your heart gets stopped, you can sort of have a glimpse of the afterlife. These are like medical students, so they start their own sort of operation, no pun intended, experiment, whatever you say, where because of medical surgeons, yeah, medical students, they basically gang of them, like they'll stop one person's heart. I think the threshold is like 2 minutes, and you bring them back. But once the people have come back, because they've glimpsed the afterlife, they're sort of seeing things in real life and like hit what's the word, hallucinations and things. But yeah, really interesting one. I think there's been a remake of that, but I've not seen it. Heard it's not as great as that. This again, I was tempted to put within the horrors, but being as it's set on Earth, yeah, I think this is more of a sci-fi. Yeah, you would say a sci-fi horror, but yeah, I'd say the sci-fi elements are stronger than the horror. So directed by Philip Kaufman, starring Brooke Adams. I don't think I've seen her in too much other things, and then obviously Donald Sutherland. Yeah, I'm sure everybody knows this. Again, I keep talking about Stuart George, but I know he really enjoys this one. He showed it on his video. I think most people that's watched this do. I think the Abel Ferrara remake, just called Body Snatchers, is quite good as well. I've not seen the original, but yeah, really great, really nice Arrow edition I've got here, 4K of it. Yeah, sure everybody knows this film. Good effects. It's also got Leonard Nimoy, I think played Spock. I'm not a massive fan of Star Trek, but there's bit of trivia, and the main thing I would say without giving spoilers is the ending scene to this, one of the most haunting scenes I've seen in any film. Yeah, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Cube. Yeah, so again, a bit of horror element. I mean, most of the sci-fis I like do seem to be sort of sci-fi tinged with horror or action. Not got too many pure straight up sci-fis. There's a few like Flight of the Navigator, which are kind of kid sci-fis, or E.T., which I was going to put in this list, but I had sort of put them in family films, to be fair. I mean, E.T. is a sci-fi, but yeah, I guess it's a family film as much as it's a sci-fi. You could even say Jurassic Park as a sci-fi, but again, I would put that in my family films. So yeah, Cube. I think it's a Canadian-made film. So tell me, it was directed by Vincenzo Natali. I think I've heard of other things done by him, but I can't think what at the moment. Not that well a known cast, to be fair. It is quite a low budget film. Some of the acting isn't great. It's not bad. It won't take you out of it. Not like B movie level, but yeah, it's not Oscar. I know in my last video, for some reason, when I talk about Anthony Hopkins, I said Grammy, which I think is a music award, so forgive me for that. But yeah, Oscar, not Oscar worthy, but some good gore, some really good traps, really original concept. I can't really say how they get in the cube and what goes on in there without kind of spoiling the premise. So I won't talk about it too much. But yeah, if you haven't seen Cube, I think this is quite an underrated, slept-on one. Next one, crazily enough, I only have this on DVD. Never actually upgraded it to Blu-ray or 4K. Although doing these kind of videos, when I look over the collection, does make me think, it makes me notice, should I say, or realise gaps in the collection or ones I need to upgrade. So yeah, I remember when I was at school, I think at the time when I was in sixth form, one of my mates who was like 2 years younger than me was doing media studies, and they studied this film a lot. So not only is it a well-made film, but it's really kind of like what's the word? It's got a lot of do you say allegory? It's a lot of things to do with advertisements and things in it. The way the little sort of screen comes on the, but yeah, dialogue in it's amazing. Rutger Hauer, really good in it. Obviously Harrison Ford. What's the name of that main lady? Don't actually seem to tell me her name on the back. Sure, somebody in the comments will know. She plays this lady. with like the crazy hairstyle. But yeah, Rutger Hauer near the end, he actually has a dialogue where he talks about tears in the rain and attack ships on the horizon. Some of the best, or monologue, should I say, because he said it to himself. Some of the best monologue I've ever heard in any film. Like Roy Barrett, Blue Roy movie, said in his when he talked about it, spoke about it, should I say, gives you goose bit. What's the word? Makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, goosebumps, whatever you call it, goose pimples. But yeah, apparently it was ad libbed. He actually wasn't in a script. He just came up with that. So yeah, fair play. Rest in peace, Rutger Hauer. Yeah, one of Harrison Ford's best films. Ridley Scott. Without spoiling it, there will be another Ridley Scott film on this list. Probably could have been three actually, but yeah, one of the best sci-fi directors in my opinion. Obviously, he's done other films like Gladiator, really good. Yeah, not too much I could say about Blade Runner. Sure, everybody knows this. Got to upgrade this one soon. It's not the most action-packed film, but it's more about the dialogue and the way it's made. And yeah, if you're a film student, you could just learn so much from the way that is made. This one again, I was thinking, is it action? Is it sci-fi? But when I was looking at the ones I'm going to put in my action list, without giving it a spoiler, let's say, for example, one of the John Wick films, it is a lot more grounded than this, which obviously they create like a cyborg policeman. You've got like Ed 209, which is a big robot. So although it's kind of believable, I think, yeah, if it's sort of set where these things haven't happened yet and, you know, it could come to pass in the future that they're not sci-fi, what do you call it? Cyborg policemen like RoboCop, then yeah, I think this is a sci-fi more than it is an action. Although yeah, I was tempted, but yeah, I had this in my top 15 film list. I think when I watched it as a kid on video or when it was on TV, it always had the execution scene cut out. There's a few gory scenes. I think I spoke before about the scene when Ed 209 sort of machine guns a guy into the fountain. Seen that when I was about 5 years old. Snuck down and sort of pressed play on the video player on the VHS that was in there, and kind of scared me as a child for a sort of gore or violence I can really remember seeing in like an adult film. But yeah, they always seem to cut out the execution scene, but it is very brutal when you go back and watch it. Does it say if it's a 15 or an 18? Oh yeah, I was just checking. Yeah, it does say 18, which does make sense to be fair. But yeah, the execution scene, without going into it too much, they're like got future RoboCop, Alex Murphy, I think he's called, on the floor of these gangsters, criminals, and they're sort of shooting him with shotguns, and they're blowing his hands off and shooting his legs. And yeah, it's a really gory, sort of intense scene, to be fair. But yeah, one of my favourite films. Really good, what's the word, metaphors and allegories again, a satire of sort of capitalism, and I'll buy that for $1 and all the adverts it shows. It's directed by, I'm having a mental block of his name, Paul Verhoeven, which, again, no spoiler, but we've got another film coming up by Paul Verhoeven on this list. This one, obviously I've got the Alien box set, but I would say Aliens, so obviously the second Alien film. It's one of my favourites. Alien 3, I find it a bit boring, but I don't hate it as much as most people do. Probably David Fincher's worst film, although there's apparently a lot of studio interference messed it up. And Alien Resurrection, I kind of think is fun, but it's not a great film. But yeah, Aliens, again, haven't upgraded. Was going to get the 4K, but I've heard it's not a great scan or print where it's been, what's the word? I think it's been done with AI. And yeah, a lot of people have sort of give bad feedback about it. I think James Cameron or someone came out saying, stop living in your mum's basement. I was like, if the fans are buying your stuff and they've been waiting for it, then if they're not happy with it, it's on you or whoever's made it. It's not down to attack the fans because they don't simp for everything you do. Yeah, it annoyed me a bit. Terminator 2. As a kid, this was my favourite film ever when I first used to watch it. Really fun and iconic film. But as an adult, yeah, I still like it, but it's not, don't enjoy it as much, I wouldn't say. Yeah, I've only got this on DVD. I haven't upgraded this one either, but it is a nice sort of special edition, and it's one with this sort of letterbox landscape, would you call it? Sorry if everyone can hear the what do you call them? Recycling people, rubbish collectors are here, and I can hear a lorry beeping and then banging around everybody's bins. The Fifth Element, so Luc Besson film that also does Leon and Dogman. Leon, one of my favourite films ever. Yeah, it's maybe a bit more of a family. I mean, it's a 12, but take my finger off of it. Yeah, a bit more of a kind of family sci-fi. But yeah, one of my favourite Bruce Willis films. I think it's one of the the first film with, see if we can find her name, Mila Jovovich. I think she was really young in this one. It's got Chris Tucker, Ian Holm. Another spoiler is in one of the films we'll show later, my favourite one. Gary Oldman, possibly my favourite actor ever. I think with Gary Oldman, just such a character actor. He'd be in things, you don't even realise it's him until somebody tells you. I'll speak about it more in another. I'm thinking of doing my top 5 favourite actors video. But yeah, really fun sort of kind of more family sci-fi. Right, I'll speed up a bit because I've already gone over 15 minutes, so that was lofty ambition to make this under that. And then obviously you've got the original Terminator. Heard people argue this is basically a slasher film, which they've got a point. You know, there's a Terminator, he's going around shooting people, killing them, invades a police station, shotgunning all the police. Not really a spoiler to say that. I say one or two of the special effects, a bit when he removes his eye, are a bit dated now, but as a film it still works really well. Is this James Cameron's first film? I think it might be. 1984, the year I was born, so showing my age a bit. Nightmare on Elm Street, also 1984. So yeah, maybe I'll do a video also of favourite films that came out the year I was born. Yeah, I'm sure everybody knows Terminator. I probably do prefer Terminator 2 as a more enjoyable film, but this is more groundbreaking. But yeah, the atmosphere, especially at the start when it's sort of showing all the like vehicles and the sort of landscape that's happened in a future apocalyptic world where after Skynet turns on humanity. But yeah, really good sort of concept, really original, that one. And obviously Arnie really good in it. Starship Troopers, so yeah, this is the other Paul Verhoeven movie I was talking about, that I mentioned. Yeah, again, a bit of a satire. I think I've not seen all of his films. What's the one he done? Did he make, what's the one with the women that work in like a sort of strip club? Showgirls? I'm not sure if that's so much a satire. I think I watched it once as a kid, and even though there's some like sexy women in it, I don't think I enjoyed it, and a lot of people have said it's not a great film. Yeah, I think most of Paul Verhoeven's output do have sort of satire and do seem to be quite sort of sci-fi. But yeah, basically fighting these like alien bugs, real fun scenes, some real like good camaraderie, a few quite brutal bits. It's like a big brain bug. Yeah, kind of like a war film, but they're sort of fighting against aliens. Should have balanced it out, so I spoke about each one for like 1 minute rather than using up a lot of time on the first ones and now having to flash through these ones. But yeah, Predator. So again, this you could argue is sci-fi, horror, and action. Really original film. Yeah, one of the first sort of adult films I've seen as a kid. So my dad let me watch this when I was about 8 or 9. One thing I think I mentioned before, he didn't like me seeing like sex scenes, whereas I don't think there is any of that in this. A few rude jokes, obviously a lot of gore and swearing and violence and things. But yeah, for me, probably Arnie's most iconic role. Really good cast as well. You got, I see him on the back. Yeah, Creature by Stan Winston. I think originally the Creature was going to be played by, no, sorry, the main guy, Dutch, was going to be played by Jean-Claude Van Damme. And then they had a different Predator, which I think it's on the extras here. It just didn't look as good, so it's lucky they went with this thing. But yeah, really good creature design. So many quotables. I ain't got time to bleed. Get to the chopper. Loads of funny not slapstick. What's the word? He basically throws a knife in someone, says stick around, kicks down the door, says knock knock. What's the bit when him and Carl Weathers, Dylan, sort of meet, and he's like, Dylan, you son of a bitch. Yeah, which is really memorable. Yeah, one of my favourite films as a kid, especially. Life. So probably the most recent off of this list, I think. Should have checked before, but I know a lot of people do argue it's an Alien ripoff, which it kind of is, but what good sci-fi films starring an alien aren't, I wouldn't say ripped off, but aren't inspired by Alien? But yeah, for me, Alien's such an enjoyable film. I'm happy to have something, you know, similar to Alien. I mean, yeah, I'd say this has more sort of horror elements than the Alien sequels and things. Haven't seen the new Romulus one. I'm going to pick that up, which I've heard is a bit more horror, especially with, what's he called? Fede Alvarez. I did like Evil Dead remake Mama and things. So yeah, when I heard he was making it, I was quite happy. But yeah, I find this really enjoyable, really good cast. Rebecca Ferguson and Jake Gyllenhaal great in it. Directed by Daniel Espinosa. I'm not sure if I've seen other things by him. There's obviously some directors like Spielberg and that, you kind of know all their output. There's just a few where if I looked on IMDb or Letterboxd, I go, oh, this guy's done quite a few good films, but until I notice that, I don't always notice their name cropping up on various films. But yeah, I think one of the best sci-fi films of recent times, and yeah, one of the most sort of fun, enjoyable ones I've seen since Alien, to be fair. Um, yeah, really bleak ending, really good sort of ending. Uh, Sort of depressing ending, but kind of poignant at the same time. But yeah, really clever, well done film. Yeah, really enjoyed that. Good effects as well on the creature, and the creature isn't what you'd expect. Where most of these are, like a flesh and blood beast. That creature sort of grows itself from like a small sort of not a single cell creature, but like from a petri dish, and it's just more intelligent than the humans can imagine. And they're trying to study it. And not a spoiler to say it gets loose on the spaceship. This one again, I was thinking of putting in sort of family films, but it is a sci-fi really more than it's a family film, isn't it? Back to the Future. So all fun films, but Back to the Future one my favourite. But yeah, I used to really love this as a kid. Obviously 88 mile per hour sort of car, out of time with the DeLorean, Doc Brown in it, Marty McFly, well it is Marty McFly, but played by Michael J. Fox. Obviously Christopher Lloyd plays Doc Brown. Yeah, probably both their best roles I've seen him in. Christopher Lloyd is good in The Addams Family as Uncle Fester, to be fair, and Michael J. Fox probably. No, this is his best film. I'm trying to think of what his second closest film. I used to really like Teen Wolf. I think I haven't watched it as an adult, so it might be really cheesy and silly now, but used to enjoy it. Yeah, I like this little box set of it. Number 3, I think, is Back in the Western Times. I think that was my least favourite, but yeah, sure, everybody knows Back to the Future. And then my number 1, Alien. So another one directed by Ridley Scott. So yeah, Ridley Scott, one of the best film directors ever, in my opinion. I think he's had a few misses, but obviously ones like Gladiator, Alien, Blade Runner, probably a few more I'm not thinking of. Amazing. What's his brother called? He's got a brother as well. Really good director. Got quite a few good films by him. I'm having a mental blank at the moment. Obviously something Scott. Tony Scott? Yeah. I can't think of the films he's done, but I literally watched one the other day and I spoke about it on a video. But yeah, sure, everybody knows Alien. Maybe one of the first films to have a female protagonist. Good, amazing creature effects, designed by H.R. Geiger, an artist. I think he's Swiss or something. Yeah, it's such a well-made film. Great actors in it, like John Hurt, Ian Holm. Yep, said Ian Holm would be another one. Harry Dean Stanton, who was in Escape from New York. Maybe another John Carpenter film. Veronica Cartwright. Watched the film 2 days ago with her in. Won't talk about it yet. Tom Skerritt, Sigourney Weaver, Yaphet Kotto. Obviously directed by music by Jerry Goldsmith, written by Dan O'Bannon, who also writ or directed. I think he wrote and directed. Let me see, I've got it down here. Dead and Buried, which is one of the better video nasties. But yeah, what can you say about Alien? Like Stuart George said, it kind of is a horror really, but I sort of cheated it by not putting it in my horror so I can have it top of this list. But yeah, I guess it probably, yeah, more sci-fi than a horror, but being as it's set in space, I class it more sci-fi than horror. Could also argue it's basically a haunted house film in space. So the spaceship kind of acts as the haunted house, and then the aliens kind of lurking around. I think it's really good that they don't show the alien very much for quite a while. I mean, it is a guy in a rubber suit, although the effects are good, they do sort of underutilize it in a good way. Really good showdown. Obviously, the chestburster effect back when it first came out must have really shocked the audience. Yeah, what can you say? Sort of inspired the Dead Space computer game, should I say. Yeah, one of my favourite films ever, Alien. Every time I watch it, it's just kind of gets better. It's just even the downtime in it with just them talking or in their cryogenic sleeping state, would you call it? Is that what it's called when they go asleep? Even those bits aren't boring. It's so well paced. Really good action film, good special effects, well shot, brilliant music. What can you say about Alien? So yeah, that's my number 1 sci-fi horror. Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. I'll be back with my other genres. Yeah, any of your favourites, let me know. I'm always open to suggestions and new films to watch. And like I say, I know there's a few older classic ones that I have seen but don't sort of own. A few I've got here that I own but haven't watched yet, which I've heard are classics. So maybe they'll be updated into the list. But yeah, I said hopefully this would be under 15 minutes. It's gone on for 25, so sure everybody knows I like to ramble. Even when I'm trying to be concise, it still flows over the top. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Bye.